Today we'll be looking at political parties in our notes 3.3. So we'll be talking about what a political party is, the roles that they play in our political system, and a little bit about our two major parties, Democrats and Republicans. So, what is a political party? A political party is an organization that tries to elect its members to public office so that its views can become public policy. So they are the way we nominate, elect, and monitor our representatives. Political parties have been part of American society since the foundation of the United States. The framers were initially opposed to political parties. They called them factions. So they kind of felt that they would divide people and split them up, which they kind of do. Madison said that parties would pursue its own interests at the expense of the common good. However, Madison would go on to form one of the nation's first political parties. So the nation still struggles to incorporate the will of the majority and the rights of the minority. So whatever party is in power, we tend to pass those types of laws and legislation that agree with their viewpoint. And so at that time, then the minority is not heard and things flip flop back and forth. And so, ultimately we try to find a balance. Party ideology. Each party has a basic set of ideas and goals about society and the role of government. The unification of the ideas that the party members share is the party's ideology. The political spectrum. So the political spectrum is the continuum of social and political beliefs that stretches from the liberal left to the conservative right. So if you think about like the color spectrum of a rainbow, and as political views vary, you can be very conservative on one end, and then as it goes to the other end of the spectrum, they become more liberal. So the Democratic Party tends to be considered more liberal. Liberal meaning kind of having maybe more open mindedness, having a greater acceptance, more tolerance, maybe being a little bit more free thinking. And so it supports government action to fix unfair policies. And then we have the Republican Party, and they're considered to be conservative. So they don't always like change. They like to keep things consistent, going with tradition. They don't like radical changes. And so they support a limited government, lower taxes, and traditional social values. And so we'll get into kind of the more specifics of kind of what makes what are Democratic beliefs and what are Republican beliefs, and kind of what makes them liberal and conservative. Main roles of political parties. So to nominate candidates, so naming candidates for elective office, usually share the views of the party. Parties bring money, campaign workers, and other support to the candidates. They aid in the electoral process, educate people about the issues the party focuses on, help the electorate register to vote, and inform them on where they can vote, monitor the performance of its office holders, essentially becoming the watchdog of members of other parties, and uses the mistakes of the other party to help get their members elected. Main roles continued. Political parties help run the government. In each House of Congress, the majority party controls the function of the House. So whoever has the majority in the Senate, they get to control what the Senate is doing, kind of set the agenda. And then same thing with the House of Representatives. Whichever party has the most number of seats is considered the majority party, and they get to control the agenda. People appointed to positions in the executive and judicial branches are usually members of the president's party. If the Congress is a different party than the president, they can help to keep the president in check. So it'll be harder for the president to accomplish their goals because they're working with the opposite party, versus when the president and Congress are of the same party, makes it easier for them to pass legislation. Benefits of political parties. They help to filter out the extreme or unconventional ideas. Parties need to attract as many voters as possible, include as broad a base as they can to attract voters. The two major parties are made up of distinct groups. So you have Democratic constituencies, which are made up of labor unions predominantly. Women. I think obviously that there are Republican women, but women tend to lean more Democratic. Racial and ethnic minorities, and also educated urban voters. So again, those are big groups of people that tend to be Democrats. So Republican constituencies. You have religious conservatives, corporate and business interest, and white men. Benefits of political parties. Because each major party represents a variety of groups and views, supporters who agree with most of the party's positions will not abandon over a single issue. So, party loyalty creates stability. So, if you are a Democrat, you tend to vote for Democratic candidates because you want to be loyal to the party. You won't necessarily always look into what their issues are. You just know that, well, they're a Democrat, I'm a Democrat, so I will vote for them. Parties provide a political brand name. Voters can vote for the party and not the candidate. Allows them to make political decisions without being fully informed. Criticisms of political parties. By trying to appeal to as many voters as possible, political parties lack unity and can break campaign promises. Interest groups give money for campaigns which influence office holders, benefits narrow interests and not the general public. Parties are full of office seekers who are looking to promote themselves rather than the good of the people. People are angered by partisan bickering. Partisan bickering meaning like Democrats fighting with Republicans and not wanting to compromise or agree on an issue. They're more worried about winning public opinion and votes than trying to solve the nation's problems. So we are finished with these notes. You want to make sure you go back, fill in the key terms for this set of notes. We had quite a bit of them.